Hello friend, my name is Derek Carter, and in this video we're going to finish up our discussion of the chapter 1, the introductory material to computers and to Python in general. So in this video we're going to be looking at using Python, okay? So now a lot of the stuff I'm going to be talking about here, I actually already assume that you've set up. So you've got a Python interpreter installed and you basically run this instructions. Okay, so there'll be a link to the getting started that you'll need in our classroom, getting started content. I'll put a link to this on this video as well, right? So in order to actually run Python, you have to install some things, and there's some other additional stuff like Git tools and things that you need to do class assignments for the class I'm doing these videos for. All right. So, but I'm going to show a few simple things. I do have Python interpreter installed. There's two basic ways that you can that you can use Python or run Python. You can run it in interactive mode, where you enter statements on a keyboard interactively, or script mode, where your program or your statements are saved in a file and you've passed the file to the interpreter, and it will run the statements in the script instead of you typing them in interactively one by one. Okay, so the Python interpreter can run Python programs that are saved in files, or it can be run interactively to execute Python statements that are typed in at the keyboard. Also, I'm going to talk a little bit about IDEs. I'll probably be showing stuff using VSCode, but I'll mention a little bit about the IDLE IDE that's part of the base Python language as well. All right. Okay, so first, interactive mode. So when you start Python in an interactive mode, you will see a prompt. So that indicates that the interpreter is waiting for you to type a statement. And then each time you type in something, hit return. So you have to hit return for it to read your statement and actually interpret it and translate it. Okay, so you can get error messages if you incorrectly type a statement. So interactive mode is good for kind of two things. It's a good way to learn new parts of Python, so you can try things out. Also, it's a good idea if you're designing or thinking about how to solve a problem for like an assignment, for example. You can use it to test out ideas and design things. Okay, one way to run Python interactively is if you know how to open up a terminal on your system where you've installed Python. You can use the Python, so you might have to use Python 3 command if you're on Mac OS or Linux. It looks like Windows has kept around just Python. It's just a link to Python 3. So if you do that, if you don't specify a file, you're actually running in interactive mode, okay? So here we're running version 3.14.6, okay? And if you followed my videos about getting started and get Python set up, I do recommend using VS Code. But basically in VS Code, you can open up a terminal that's inside VS Code, but it's really, you can open up different kinds of terminals, like a PowerShell or things, but you can also open up just a regular DOS kind of command prompt terminal. But this is the same kind of thing. So if you want to, you can run Python 3 interactively inside of here. This is more convenient because it makes it easier to copy and paste if you're working on code in a file into the interpreter back and forth. Okay. And like we were saying, I think I mentioned, but do check that you're running version 3.14 however you start the interactive mode. And you can just type in a regular Python statements here, like a print statement. Okay. So if you make like a syntax error, like prompt, you'll get error messages here. And every time you hit return, we talked about this in the previous video. Basically, it takes everything you typed in, it tries to interpret that as a Python statement. Then it translates that Python statement into machine language, sends it to the CPU, and executes it, and then the results will appear here on your terminal. Okay. Okay, so the other way that you can use the Python interpreter is in script mode. So basically what you're doing, if you look here on the slide, is that you're going to give it the name of a file, and the interpreter, when you do it this way, is going to be fetching statements one by one from the file, and then translating those and sending them to the CPU to be executed. Okay, so whenever you have statements in a file, they're executed sequentially. So the first Python statement in the file will get read in, translated by the interpreter, executed by the CPU, and then it'll get the next one, and so on. Okay, so in order to do this, So to demonstrate this, I'll go back to VS Code here. So I'll open up a terminal in VS Code. So you need to have the file in the current directory, or else you have to specify like the full path to where the file is. Okay. So here, when I opened up my command terminal in VS Code, I was in this particular directory on my system. Okay, so I actually don't have a Python file in here yet. So let me go ahead and create like a new Python file. And we'll put in a input statement. So what is your name? And we'll print out a hello message to whatever they type in. All right. So here, I'll go ahead and save that file. I'm going to save it in my repo subdirectory. I'm going to call it something better than untitled. So we'll say hello.python. So now, if we look at, so since I'm doing this from the terminal to demonstrate using script mode, if we look in there, we've now got our file. So now I want to run that one. Okay. So this will just run these statements that are in the file, so as if I was typing them interactively. So it reads the first line, translates that instruction and executes it. So it's waiting for input at this point. I'll enter my name. So once that returns, the text I typed in got saved into the variable called name, and then it ran this statement, which executed a print statement to generate more output on my terminal standard output here. So our textbook mentions idle. I do recommend that you use a real integrated development environment like VS Code or PyCharm, but you could perfectly well do the assignments and stuff for this class using idle. It has the basics there. So let me really quickly kind of show using idle here. Before I go away, I was going to mention, for our textbook, I won't show using idle a lot. There is a whole lot of material in Chapter 1 and also in Appendix B, kind of showing interacting with the IDLE Python development environment that comes standard part of the language. So if you're interested, you can look that up. So here, back on a Windows system, so you might have to find this in a different way on Mac OS or whatever. But when if you followed my getting started videos, I installed Python from the python.org, so the basic Python interpreter from python.org. So you would find idle under the Python directory here in your start menu. There it is. So when it starts up, it's really just interactive mode, like I showed before, right? So you type in command interactively like that. If you want to do script mode, you can edit files in idle, right? So it just has a basic editor here, but it does, the thing is it is a small integrated development environment, so it does code highlighting and things like that. So maybe I'll just copy and paste the code I already did here. So I'll copy that. Oops. Paste it in there. And we'll go ahead and save it. Although I give it a different name. I'll call it hello2.py. Save it in there. So here, if you want to run in script mode, this isn't actually a command terminal. So to run script mode, you have to say run module. Although you can also bring up a shell in idle, so to run things interactively with a shell. Oh no, I'm sorry, that's just here. But anyway, so you can do F5 or run module. The output will come over here. That by default runs whatever file you currently have open and did the run in. Right. I forgot to mention back in VSCode, so most actual real IDEs are going to have a similar way to do stuff like I just showed you. So in Python, you can do run with or without debugging, which is again also to the F5 is kind of a standard for doing a run. And that should run the open file here, right? So whatever file you currently have opening, it is actually running that down here in a terminal in VS Code. Okay. Okay, so yeah, that's all I'll say about idle. Like I said, I'm probably going to be doing these videos using VS Code. I do recommend, especially if you're a computer science student, you're going to be doing any other programming. It's good to learn an actual, real development environment. So something other than idle. But idle, you could use it. It has the basics that you would need to do assignments in this class. Okay. But yeah, there's one thing that is missing from idle is it doesn't really have built-in tools for interacting with Git. Okay, so I did want to mention these videos, the stuff I'm doing from here. There should be links in our class resources in Miley Online. I'll have a link to this in our video description for this video here. But you can get all these resources, the slides and programs and things that I show on these videos in our repository for the CS233 class. Okay, so since I've done the getting started video, I've already got my Git set up and my Git tools and things. Let me go ahead and close this folder here. My Git tools are already installed. I've already got my secure shells key set up and everything. So, you need a link to this repository. Again, you should be able to find this link in our class. Here it is here. If you're watching the video, I'll put this link in the video description. You can clone this. You won't be able to clone this using SSH because I don't allow students to actually be able to push, make changes. So you'd have to do like a HTTP clone here. So I'll just copy that and clone this repository. So as I've said in other videos, I usually recommend people have some directory where you put repositories for class assignments and things, like this class resources repository. I'll go ahead and put it in my repos directory, which I'll usually use when I demonstrate stuff like this on videos for the class here. Once that's done, I'll go ahead and open that up in my VS Code here, and you'll have access to, at this point when I'm doing the video, I kind of only started. I've only got some chapter stuff, but you have all the code examples. You should have linked to all the slides and things as I'm making them, and other resources and things will be available in here. So for example, if you're reading chapter 2, you can bring this up. This particular code example and go ahead and run it. Just be a little bit slow running there, but there it comes. Okay, so that's it for this video. So just to summarize what we went over in this video, for this class, if you're watching these for my class, you have to have a Python distribution installed. It needs to be version 3.14 probably if you're watching this video. You should have links to repositories and instructions for getting started, getting this installed, plus you need some other stuff like Git tools and things to do the assignments for my class. A Python interpreter can be used in two fundamental ways. You can either use it interactively or in script mode. So I showed interactively. That just means that it's you're typing in commands, and whenever you hit return, it will try and interpret that as a Python statement, translate it, and show you the results from running it. Or you can do it in script mode, which basically means you saved your Python statements in a file, and then you pass that file name to the Python interpreter, and it will read the statements one by one, from the first statement to the second statement and so on, in order to interpret and translate that file. Okay. The idle is always there if you can't or don't want to use some other more IDE, more featureful IDE, although I do recommend using something like VSCode or PyCharm. All right. Okay, so that's it for this video. I hope these are being helpful. These videos are helpful for you. Come to class, ask me or the TA if you have questions about things. Feel free to send me emails, and I hope to see you in the next video or in class.